In 2014, a quiet Vermont janitor named Ronald Read passed away. He had spent his entire adult life pumping gas and sweeping floors. Yet when his will was processed, his town discovered he had quietly amassed an $8 million fortune. That exact same year, a Harvard-educated Wall Street executive filed for personal bankruptcy. Both men lived in the same country, both navigated the exact same economy, and both had the exact same access to Wall Street's markets. We are taught that building wealth is a strict math problem, a rigid formula solved by securing a high income and making complex calculations on a spreadsheet. But outcomes like this prove otherwise. Financial success relies surprisingly little on raw intelligence and heavily on behavior. It is a soft skill where psychology consistently beats math. Every financial decision a person makes feels perfectly reasonable to them in the moment. We base our choices on the tiny, isolated fraction of the world we have personally lived through. Take Bill Gates. In 1968, he attended one of the only high schools on the planet that gave students access to a mainframe computer. The statistical odds of a teenager having that resource at that exact moment in history were rare. He also had a brilliant classmate named Kent Evans, who shared the same drive and talent. But before he could graduate and build anything, Evans died in a mountaineering accident. We often analyze the morning routines and habits of millionaires, yet we largely ignore the roles that blind luck and uncontrollable risk play in both victory and failure. Recognizing how heavily chance skews the board requires a shift in perspective. It demands humility when assessing your own victories and grace when judging the failures of others. When a $100,000 sports car rolls down the street, watch the pedestrians. They almost never admire the person behind the wheel. They are staring right past the driver, imagining themselves in that exact seat, assuming others would be impressed by them. We instinctively buy luxury goods to signal that we have money, but the money spent on that signal is now gone. Spending money to look wealthy is the most efficient way to destroy actual wealth. True wealth is invisible. It is the unspent cash sitting quietly in an account. It requires keeping your ego in check instead of constantly putting it on display. Society looks at Warren Buffett and assumes his fortune exists because he is a legendary stock picker. This chart plots his lifetime net worth. Notice the line stays completely flat for decades. Over 90% accumulated after his 65th birthday. He bought his first stock at 10 and let compounding run uninterrupted for 80 years. Compounding doesn't care about your IQ. It rewards those who survive the inevitable downturns and keep their money invested over the longest possible timeline. A financial plan falls apart quickly if the goalpost never stops moving. Consider the hedge fund managers who commit fraud despite already possessing millions, driven by the inability to define how much is enough. Contrast that boundless greed with Vanguard founder John Bogle. He built an empire, yet lived modestly, and stopped chasing dollars past what he needed. Because no plan survives reality intact, financial stability requires engineering a margin of safety. Think of it like building a bridge. Engineers design the structure to support far more weight than it will ever carry. Leaving a wide margin for error in your savings isn't pessimistic. It is a structural necessity to protect yourself from a future you cannot predict. A cash cushion is the exact mechanism that prevents you from selling during a panic. It buys you the time required to let luck and compounding finally work in your favor. Which brings us right back to Ronald Read, our multi-millionaire janitor. He lacked insider knowledge and never earned a high salary. Read followed a straightforward method. He controlled his ego, lived below his means, and stayed in the market long enough for time to do the heavy lifting. You don't need to be a genius to build wealth. Being reasonably consistent for 40 years will always beat trying to be perfectly rational for 4.